Hello. I just wanted to chat, I guess, today about identity, I suppose, and like trying to know yourself. I'm truly probably not going to say anything profound here at all. In fact, I'm probably going to say something quite pessimistic because right now I feel very disconnected from myself, honestly, and my emotions. I feel that I don't know myself, whatever that means. I feel sometimes that my self doesn't really exist. I really struggle to know what I'm feeling because I skip past the point of allowing myself to feel it, and I go straight to over-intellectualizing what I'm experiencing and trying to decide whether it's justified or not. And I think for a while I thought that that was me being kind of like a considered, non-reactive, thoughtful person or something. Someone who just didn't act on their every emotion. Because when I was younger, I actually used to act out a lot in a variety of different ways. But I do think that in some ways I kind of really believed in myself because I would behave quite rebelliously against any kind of social norm or pretty much anything that was expected of me. I mean, I was literally non-binary at age like 12 or something. Gay people could still not get married, and I was like, I'm changing my name, everyone. Truly on the front lines. But as a teenager, I was actually really suffering a lot, and I was a deeply unpleasant person to be around because of that. I had learnt some very toxic behaviours and I was reenacting combative behaviours, and yeah, that probably continued until I was about like 18 or something. And I spent a lot of time like trying to move away from being that person to be calmer, to be nicer, and just to be an easier person to be around. And in some ways, like, I've been successful in doing that. Like, I'm now generally able to get along with pretty much most people, which is lovely, but I don't know that I've stayed like true to myself in trying to behave more in line with social norms and in trying to get other people to respect me. I think I've lost a bit of respect for myself along the way. Like, I don't think I back myself. I do think it's a beautiful thing to be a team player and supportive of other people and empathetic and to take other people's feelings into consideration. But I would say I have taken responsibility for other people's feelings as opposed to just not trying to hurt people. I've like accepted some weird like burden onto myself that has diminished my own like sense of self in the process. When I was about 20, I read a book which, for better or for worse, definitely changed my life, or at least the first chapter. And that was the first chapter of The Power of Now. Truly sorry to bring this one up, guys. I'm just going to read a bit from literally the first few pages of the introduction. And don't worry, I'm truly not using this as like something that you should follow. I'm about to criticize. One night, not long after my 29th birthday, I woke up in the early hours with a feeling of absolute dread. I had woken up with such a feeling many times before, but this time it was more intense than it had ever been. Everything felt so alien, so hostile, and so utterly meaningless that it created in me a deep loathing of the world. The most loathsome thing of all, however, was my own existence. What was the point in continuing to live with this burden of misery? Why carry on with this continuous struggle? I could feel that a deep longing for annihilation, for non-existence, was now becoming much stronger than the instinctive desire to continue to live. I cannot live with myself any longer. This was the thought that kept repeating itself in my mind. Then suddenly I became aware of what peculiar thought it was. Am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me, the I and the self that I cannot live with. Maybe, I thought, only one of them is real. Honestly, when I read that for the first time, made me gasp and run out of the room to tell someone about what I had just read. Truly, like, baby discovers the concept of the ego and the self. But I don't want to shit on myself too much because I read this book at like one of the most difficult times in my life, and it truly did at the time keep me walking on this earth. So thank you, Eckhart Tolle, for keeping me here long enough to say that I now disagree with you. The realization that what I hated about myself, like, technically wasn't real, and that I didn't have to give in to like all of these horrible emotions that I was feeling. I could just observe them and not identify with them. Truly, it made life livable to just be like, oh, I actually don't have to feel all of these things. I don't have to look at the world in such a negative way. And it made my soul-sucking job in fast food at the time a lot more tolerable. I worked really unpleasant underpaid jobs all the way through COVID, by the way. Like, I truly just want to, for a second, like, hold space for the fact that I was literally a frontline key worker in a care home during lockdown. Like, truly, what was happening there? I never got to experience a lockdown in which I was able to like lock in to some new hobby or skill, or even just watch a bunch of movies or something. Like, I was truly homeschooling my baby sister and then working 12-hour night shifts. Truly like sending peace and love to myself back there. Like, I got through it. So whilst I was learning to kind of flatten myself out emotionally, I feel like I ended up flattening myself out in pretty much every other aspect of my life and myself. By the way, like, I'm not saying that this was the sole reason that caused me to go along this path. Like, it more just kind of validated something that I was already kind of thinking about. I didn't really have the tools to actually know how to feel emotions or identify emotions or whatever. So the act of me kind of choosing not to feel them was me just actually suppressing them. Yeah, kind of helped me along a path that I was already going down of like wanting life to be easier for myself, because life had been shit for as long as I could possibly fucking remember. Gradually, over the years, I became much more conventionally presenting. I stopped speaking my mind as much. I went back to uni, back into education, despite my first falling out with the institution of higher education. And like, as much as in some areas of myself, I'm very grateful to have made a massive change. Like, I am empathetic, and I do always try to understand things from other people's perspectives, and I don't lash out and cause arguments and stuff anymore like when I was a teenager. However, in a way, I have just become like the most palatable version of myself, inoffensive to basically anyone. And I'm always so careful now about like what I say and do, and who I say certain things to. And it's like, yeah, to an extent, absolutely do that. Like, not everyone needs to know your business, not everyone is well intentioned, but I just truly don't want people to think that I'm a bit fucking weird, because that's historically what I was. I was someone that would consistently do things against the norm, and I was treated really badly for that. I was never taught how to regulate my emotions, and truly I was like a loose cannon as a teenager. So I was struggling a lot with my family life, and it was also truly not easy to be a visibly and openly queer teenager in like 2013. I had a very turbulent childhood and teen years, basically, and I had no sense of stability at all. And so as I got older, I realised that I was really, really craving that. Like, I wanted to feel calm and like a safe person, and I wanted to be treated like I was fucking normal, when, you know, quite frankly, for a lot of my life I had been treated like an alien, partly because the way that I was behaving probably was alien to a lot of people. I really have tried to protect myself by like becoming the way that I am now. I'm grateful to me for looking out for me, and I don't know how I would have stayed here had I not made drastic changes to my being. But then sometimes when the pendulum has swung so far one way and you try to go the opposite direction, you end up swinging way too far the other way, which is what I fear I have done. And I have actually in many ways alienated myself even more, because I became so ashamed of myself as a person, and I've tried to hide so much of myself or change myself that I actually don't really know where myself has gone. When I was like the messiest version of myself, when I was still doing my A-levels, I actually did have friends around me who loved me and they accepted me in their own ways. And I know I did then as well, but now I really do struggle to connect with people because I worry that I'm hiding the fucking demon that is my actual self behind the mask of my own face. And yeah, as I said before, I've not actually been observing and not becoming my emotions and letting them pass through me. I've just been rejecting them and stifling them inside, keeping them all trapped. And they're still there, like, why are you doing this to me? Let me out. And I've been so reluctant to confront all of this because, yeah, I'm terrified to pull back the mask and see that it's all still there and I've not changed, and that sad, like, hurt person is still inside of my brain, like, hello. And I desperately do not want them to be there. I don't want to be that person anymore, but I do want to feel like I'm living an authentic version of myself, whatever that is. I don't really know what that's gonna take or what that's gonna look like, but I just feel that is something I want to make a conscious effort to move towards. Respecting myself, actually having boundaries and not taking on responsibility for literally everything. Allowing myself to enjoy the things that I enjoy, do the things that I want to do without shaming myself because I was fucking bullied for being weird. I just want to be who I am and like feel my emotions and like that be okay. But yeah, I'm sure this will be a very long and slow process, but as I have been saying for a while now, doing something is better than doing nothing about it. Yeah, I don't know if there's any altruistic reason for me to post this other than me just feeling self-important enough to talk about myself for a while. So yeah, if someone could just pretend that they were really profoundly affected by this video and they could comment that would be fantastic. Thank you. Have a good day. Take care. Goodbye.